It is the fifth and final installment of this series on Bad Bunny's album, Nadie Sabe Lo Que Va a Pasar Mañana. I can't even call it his new album, because at this point, the album came out freaking 2 months ago. This series was not supposed to stretch to December, mi gente. That was not the plan. But as you may be able to hear, I got really, really sick. 2 weeks ago, I started feeling bad. It's still not all the way gone, but we are much better. I wanted to take advantage of my situation to teach you guys some vocab use in PR for sickness. Okay. I would say casually, because I'm about to use a cuss word. So of course you'd have to be mindful of your company when you're saying this, but I would say me dio una monga bien cabrona. Una monga bien cabrona. A really fucking bad flu. Monga and influenza. I just asked about the difference of this in our language exchange chat, and the response I got back was that monga was more just the common term. That's been what's used for a long time in Puerto Rico to describe a flu. Now they're using a little bit more the official word influenza. That's sort of cycled its way in recently, but that monga was the old standard to describe a flu. Both of these are pointing to the same thing. Okay, you have the body aches, the fever, etc. I really couldn't enjoy Thanksgiving. Alfredo and I were just with his family for long enough to eat, and then we left. I was in bad shape, y'all. Okay, una monga, body aches, una fiebre, a fever, versus un catarro. Un catarro is a cold, just the common cold. All right, I had also muchos mocos. Moco is booger. Can never be too far away from my Kleenex box. In my current state, it's getting better. It's getting better. I also just wanted to make a note. I believe that this sickness, me dio tan duro, it hit me so hard because I have a lot on my plate. And I'm just one person. There is nobody else in my business that works full time. We are a girl power business, okay, minus Alfredo and his role in the podcast. We are a girl powered business. I have 2 other Spanish teachers that give feedback on people's posts in the platform, my Spanish with Carrie platform, the different challenges we do. I have 2 teachers who help give students corrections. I have 1 other employee and good friend, and I am so grateful. She's a godsend in my life. She only works 5 hours a week. So when you message me on Patreon, on social media, when you email me, when you message me on the platform, when you write to me here, there's nobody else. It's all on me. I have sometimes upwards of around 7 classes a day. I don't have a personal assistant. So things like going grocery shopping weekly, doing my freaking laundry, making myself food, getting exercise, those are also things I have to do in my life. So I appreciate you considering that there's just one human being on the other side of this doing all of this. It takes hours to put these episodes together. It takes hours to edit it. And there's no one else doing it except for me. It would mean so much to me if you send me a message, if you need something from me, that you just consider that it might be 11:30 at night. Well, it's 8:30 your time. It might be 11:30 at night. And I would just like to not be working at that time. Appreciate it. Hello and welcome to Learn Spanish a lo Boricua podcast. The final episode! We are so excited. Starting off with Thunder and Lightning with our beloved Eladio Carrion.
M grande en mi cuenta Super Mario. Para lograrlo hicimos lo necesario.
Big M's in my account. M grande en mi cuenta Super Mario. Of course, making reference here to this big M from Super Mario, right? He's referring to what? Millions. Para lograrlo hicimos lo necesario. To achieve it, to get where we are, we did what was necessary. This is hicimos, hacer in the past tense, which is a irregular verb in the predicate. Hicimos, we were dropping the S, because that's how it's done here in El Caribe. Both of these would be S's too, right? M's grandes, M es grande, hicimos. A little bit of a breath out there. Lo necesario, what was necessary.
No tengo ni un día libre en mi calendario y mucho menos tiempo pa' ustedes mi horario.
Okay, no tengo ni un día libre en mi calendario. I ain't even got one day free on my calendar. Y mucho menos tiempo para ustedes en mi horario. And much less time for you fools in my schedule. I am taking creative liberties here. Do you see this? I am taking creative liberties. He just said ustedes. That's y'all. And much less time for y'all in my schedule. But I was feeling the you fools. Like that's what Eladio was saying to me. So that's my own creative liberty there. I ain't even got one free day on my calendar and much less time for you fools in my schedule, mi horario. This is a great vocab word. If you don't already have it, horario is schedule. Do not roll your R. Do not say horario. This happened to me. Well, you may think you're just trying to pronounce your R well. A native speaker will hear a different word when you roll an R that's not supposed to be rolled. I, in my first couple months of being here in Ponce, went to the recycling center multiple times, and it was always closed when I went. One day, I happened to drive by and I saw the guys there working. I didn't have my recycles with me that day, but I took advantage to pull over and ask them for their schedule. But I rolled the R in horario. I said horario, and we were a little bit far away. This was the pandemic, probably had the mask on. They thought I was asking about radio, the radio. They thought I was asking about electronic recycling. So they started talking to me about that. And I was just wondering what their schedule, what were your hours for being open so I could bring my recycles. I was so frustrated. This is already in the context of probably lots of experience of having failed to communicate effectively in the first few months. I think I called my dad afterwards, nearly crying. I was so frustrated, man. They couldn't understand me. I couldn't understand them. All I want to do is ask about your schedule, but I pronounced this wrong. I said horario and they heard radio. That I'm asking about electronic recycling, okay? Horario. Just one lift of the tongue towards the roof of the mouth. Horario. It cannot be ra, because that sounds like a double R, or it sounds like the R that starts a word like rápido, radio. And then they'll be hearing something different, and you will maybe cry. Because at that point, you just want to effectively do one damn thing. There's something that I'd like to look at here in this first line. No tengo ni un día libre en mi calendario. What is up with that ni? The nights that say ni? What is up with no and ni? Okay, you use no and ni together to double negate, right? To say not even, to exaggerate something as he did here. He could say, I don't have one day free on my calendar. But if we want to exaggerate that, we'd say, I don't even have one day free. That's what the ni is serving in Spanish, right? When it's kind of exists alone, it could also, depending on context, or sound like nor or when you're double negating something. Let's look at some of these examples. No tuve ni 10 minutos para descansar. No tuve ni 10 minutos para descansar. I didn't even have, look, we're doing a contraction here, but what is that? I did not even. I did not even have 10 minutes to rest. I didn't even have 10 minutes to rest. I feel like with this cursor, I feel like, y'all remember the Minnie Mouse head or Mickey Mouse head with the Mickey Mouse sing-alongs? That's what I feel like with this guy. Anyway, no puedo ni pensar en la próxima semana. I can't even think about next week. No puedo ni pensar. It's a good one to have. I can't even think. We use that a lot. That's a good one to have. Just that, even without following it with anything else. No puedo ni pensar. Okay, let's look at another example where it's not really forming the not even, but rather more like a nor or. No hay paz ni seguridad en ese país ahora mismo. No hay paz ni seguridad en ese país ahora mismo. There's not peace nor security in that country right now. There's not peace or security in that country right now, right? We might, I'm not often throwing nor around in English. That's why it's good to also think of it as or, okay? No, ni. This is one that it's best to learn in the context of an example. If you just write down ni, and on the other side of the flashcard, for example, write not even or nor or, you're not really going to know how to use this. Learn this particular setup, the structure in the context of a sentence. Write it out, rewrite it out, and do that over time, and you will learn this. That's how I learned all the things that I used to make mistakes on. That's how I corrected them. All the things that I couldn't quite understand structurally, I'd write them and rewrite them, and that's how I know how to use them correctly now. Okay, going back to Eladio's line here, right after that ni, there's another thing I'd like to take a look at. No tengo ni un día libre. Un día libre. Un día libre is a free day or a day off. This is excellent. Write it down. This one is one that lends itself well to flashcards, so it will be going on our Bad Bunny flashcard deck, which is available via our Patreon page. The link to join Patreon for just $5 a month and have access to Puerto Rican vocab Quizlet decks is right there in the description of the YouTube. If you're on Spotify, it's in the description. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, it's in all of them. Okay? Do not message me about where the freaking link is. I'm one person. Did I just lecture you guys on this? Thank you. Find the freaking link. It's in the description. Tengo todo el día libre el viernes. Tengo todo el día libre el viernes. I have the whole day free on Friday. Good example sentence that you could study as well for that. Okay, so you may have seen some other words that are really close to libre. This is how I keep libre, libro, and libra straight. These were the little tricks I taught myself to make sure I didn't get confused between these guys. Libre has the E in it. It's the one that means free. Free has 2 E's. So does libre. Boom. That's what's going to help you remember. Libro means book. Book has 2 O's. Libro is the one with the O. Excellent. That's how you remember that one. Libra means both pound, right? As an LB. Libra, libras, pounds. And it's also the zodiac sign as well, Libra. The way I remember that this one is the feminine one is because usually it's us women that have to worry about the pounds, that have a lot more pressure put on us about our weight, that are worrying about losing the LBs. So I remembered that Libra was feminine because of that, because of us women having that pressure. Okay. Libre, the E is the same as the E's in free. Libro, the O, same as the O's in book. Libra, that's us women that have this pressure about the pounds. That's how I remembered it. If it helps you, remember it that way as well. This next line.
Todos mis versos son buenos, pero mis barras no son de Kindle.
Todos mis versos son buenos, pero mis barras no son de Kinder. He's referring to Kinder Bueno. Kinder Bueno. These are very, very popular. You can find them in cualquier gasolinera. Cualquier gasolinera, any gas station in Puerto Rico, you're going to be able to find these Kinder Bueno bars. Okay, so he's saying all of my verses are good, but my bars aren't from Kinder. Right? You can use Kinder as well. Of course, I think to refer to like kindergarten. It's a hilarious play on words of reference to Kinder Bueno. Las barras, the bars. 2 bars of Kinder Bueno. Every time I hear this line, I smile. Eladio has a lot of what they refer to here as punchlines, right? Punchline, they might pronounce it more like that. Punchlines, play on words. I think of like Lil Wayne is also very good with this. I mean, I think of a lot of rappers that if you listen really carefully to their lyrics, you'll laugh, you'll smile, like, oh my gosh, how clever. Eladio is pretty clever with his lyrics. We are a big fan of Eladio in this household.
Ustedes me han visto siempre ando con los mismos mientras ustedes son amigos de todo el mundo como Balvin.
Y'all have seen me. I'm always with the same people, los mismos, same people. While you guys are friends with everybody, todo el mundo, como Balvin, like Balvin. In last episode, we talked about how Bad Bunny was throwing shade at Karol G. I'm sure you guys have seen on the internet all the controversy, all the drama, all the tea surrounding this album, and this line is one of them. But I had to talk about this with Alfredo when this album first came out, probably the first time I listened to this, and I saw people reacting to the line about Balvin, and I'm like, I don't get it. And Alfredo had to explain to me that it's not a compliment to say that you're friends with everybody. Y'all, all this gangsta shit on this album, I'm not the one. I am not the one to be explaining it to you because I don't see anything wrong with being friends with everybody. What's wrong with that? You will have noticed that I skipped over most of the songs that had to do with maleanteo, gangsta shit. I am not the one. I'm not the one to be talking about that stuff with you because I look at these lines and I'm like, what's wrong with being friends with everybody? That's what we should do. The day before I made this freaking presentation, what did I post on my Instagram? This. We all want to be understood, to be acknowledged, to be loved. This is the world I live in. Okay? I love this so much on this little tea bag, drinking a lot of tea with the sickness. Okay, I got a little tickle in my throat every night. I've been drinking a lot of tea and I've been gaining a lot of wisdom from my little yogi tea bags. I love this so much that I set it up with a nice little scene, took a shot of it, shared it on my Instagram because this is the world I live in. We all want to be understood and be acknowledged and be loved. What's wrong with being friends with everybody? I'm not the one to be talking to you about the gangster shit, the gangster topics on this album. That was Thunder and Lightning. Next, we have Perro Negro. The reason that this whole series started is because I put up 2 videos on TikTok once this album first came out, breaking down a couple lines. I talked about this line specifically in part 1 or part 2. I'm pretty sure is in part 2. So I'm just going to go over this quickly. You can go back, check out my TikTok. I have made a Bad Bunny specific playlist. All of the videos that I've ever done breaking down, using Bad Bunny's music to help teach you Spanish are on that playlist. Okay, so you can find this there. I've already taught this. Some of you that have seen the series have already heard this part. Fade comes in and says, no sabía que tú eras así, te juro que ahora me caes mejor. Wow, I didn't know you were like that. I swear now I like you more. What we need to talk about right now is the difference, the very important difference between caer bien versus gustar. Caer bien versus gustar. Both express liking, but when you're talking about liking a person, they express very different things. And this is not just Puerto Rico, this is Spanish in general. I just saw an account I follow, his account name is Spanish Hacks. I believe he is Mexican, and he just put up a video about this. Avoid this awkward mistake of using gustar when talking about people. Why is that? Because when you use gustar and you follow it with the person, you're talking about liking someone, you are implying that you like them like a crush romantically, like you are attracted to them, like you like that person. I have made this mistake, y'all. Okay. That's why I'm here saving you from making this. Look at this. Look at these 2 here. See how he's looking at her? He's thinking, wow, ella me gusta mucho. Mira su pelo rubio. Mira cómo ella señala ese libro. Tan inteligente, tan intelectual. Esta es la mujer que necesito en mi vida. Okay? This is gustar. The way he's looking at her, it's gustar. Don't learn this the hard way like me, okay? Here's me and Alfredo. What did I say? Ah, sí, I don't know, maybe talking about somebody on the internet, some content creator, some who knows what. This is about 2 years ago. I told Alfredo, ah, sí, él me gusta. And Alfredo says, ¿en serio? I just told my boyfriend that I romantically liked somebody else. Don't do that. Whoops, I needed to use el me cae bien. Me cae bien. The grammar here, the structure of using me cae bien, le cae bien, is just like the structure of using gustar. What you're really saying is that this thing is pleasing to me. El chocolate, right? Me gusta el chocolate. What I'm really saying, I'm putting gustar in as gusta, as if I'm conjugating it for él, ella, or usted, or it. Right? That falls all into the same group. The chocolate is pleasing to me. He is pleasing to me. When I say it with gustar, I'm talking about he's pleasing romantically to me. When I use it with caer, I'm just saying he's cool. I like him. He's a good person, something along those lines. Okay? Don't make this mistake. It's very awkward. You only use gustar to talk about someone you are interested in romantically. Otherwise, if you want to say you like somebody, use me cae bien, es bien buena gente. Those are good options, not gustar. Let's take a look at this next line. Vi que te dejaste de tu novio, baby, me alegro. Vi que te dejaste de tu novio. I saw you left your boyfriend, as in you broke up with him. One of the uses of dejarse, which, yes, is a reflexive verb is to imply to break up with somebody. Let's look at a couple examples here. Se dejaron, when I'm talking about they did it, right? We have to have that se part because it's reflexive. It's like saying they broke up. Se dejaron. Okay, if I'm just using it for yo, I could say me dejé. I need to put the verb in yo form in the past tense. Okay, and that me part needs to be present if it's a reflexive verb. Me dejé de mi ex en 2000. I broke up with my ex in 2000. This is not real. I was 10 years old in 2000. I didn't have a boyfriend. Okay. Just an example. Me dejé de mi ex. You can see different conjugations of it. If you did it, it's te dejaste. De. You broke up with. You left your boyfriend. If I did it, me dejé. If they both did it, se dejaron. Nos dejamos. I'm just conjugating verbs, right? If you know how to work reflexive verbs, you know what to do with this in order to use it as to break up. It's one of its uses. Dejarse, dejar in general is a verb that has lots of uses in different contexts, but now you know one of them. Lastly, I just wanted to go over the chorus. So, salió de Rose. I even asked Alfredo about this. Remember that Fade is Colombian, okay, colombiano. So he is using, quizá, jerga de Colombia. He's using slang from Colombia. This was when I asked Alfredo, I think he shrugged. Salió de Rose. I looked up a translation of this for Colombia, and it looks like she went out to party. Okay, poblado, right? But they might do the similar thing in Colombia of dropping the D. Al poblado, I believe this is a particular area in Medellin. So she went out to party in Medellin. Taba, we have an S before this. This apostrophe is indicating missing letters. Estaba perdida. But he probably pronounced it like estaba or just taba, right? The aspiration or the dropping of the S. Estaba perdida. She was lost. Yeah, but this is used in Spanish. People will tell you, aquí en Puerto Rico, it's used often like, wow, tú estás bien perdida. Tú estás bien perdida. For example, in my yoga classes, let's say there's a student that would come every week, and then for months they didn't show up. This is a line you'd use. Tú estás bien perdida. Just like, where you been? Hey, stranger. The way in English we might say, hey, stranger, to somebody who's not shown up to something they typically show up to for a while or haven't been around. That's what estaba perdida is implying in Spanish, right? Perdida, obviously, you're using that for a woman. If it was a guy, tú estás bien perdido. You've been gone for a while, basically. Y ahora anda en todo lado. And now she's out everywhere. En todos lados is what this is. Todos lados, todos lados. Ahora anda en todo lado. Now she's out all over the place. Uno prendido. This is uno prendido. The D is dropped. Uno prendido. Y el otro está enrolado. This would be enrolado. Dropping the D. One is lit and the other is rolled. Use your imagination. Today is the day, in case you haven't tried me. Okay? She went out to party. She was gone for a while, but now she's all over the place. One's lit, the other one's rolled. Today's the day, in case you haven't tried me. We have the interlude, Europa, which says, su vuelo con destino a Europa ha sido cancelado. Estén pendientes a la próxima fecha disponible. Gracias. Obviously, this is like an airport announcement, so she pronounced a lot more than the way this would sound in Puerto Rico. It probably sound like, su vuelo con destino a Europa ha sido cancelado. Estén pendientes a las próximas fechas disponibles. Gracias. Your flight with destination to Europe has been canceled. Be on the lookout, be aware of, be on the lookout for the next available dates. Thank you. Next, we have the song Acho PR. I wish that I liked this song, but I don't. I don't know that I've ever listened to it since the first time I played the album. But I still pulled out a few lines to learn from this song. Native of PR, where the vibe is something else. Otra cosa. Tú eres otra cosa. You're something else. Later in this verse, we see pasala chévere. I'm going to remind you yet again because students seem to have a hard time keeping this phrase in their brain, even though it's so important. How often do you say, we had a good time? I had a good time. You friggin' need it. Pasala bien. This is coming from that, right? Here's the command form of it. Pasala chévere. Pasala bien. You could say the same thing, right? To have a good time. Chévere again, like saying good, cool. Chévere. En este paraíso encuentras todo. Semillita de cultura los domingos en los bancholos. En este paraíso, in this paradise, encuentras todo. You find everything. Encontrar, the verb to find. Semillita de cultura, a little seed of culture on Sundays en los bancholos. Just a kind of slang version of saying the word banshees. Which if you live in PR, you know that on Sundays, there are lots of these por ahí, out and about, out there. This song, I do love. Un preview, me encanta. Nunca me canso de esta canción. I don't get tired of this song. This is another one that I already went over in those 2 videos that launched the whole series on TikTok. One of the most practical uses of the subjunctive. I freaking hate that the subjunctive is taught like this tense about wishes and doubts and airy-fairy fluffy things and alien landings. No, you have to use the subjunctive every time you say cuando and are referring to a future point right afterwards. Look at the examples. When I get home, I'll call you. When I get off work, I'm going to get gas. Anytime you say when and are pointing to a future point, you need the subjunctive right after the word cuando. This is such a practical use. This is something you use every day to coordinate with people. I use the subjunctive tense more than I use the formal future tense. I use the subjunctive daily with Alfredo. When you get off work, let me know. We'll talk about it later when you're home. Okay? Cuando estés en casa. And it seems pretty straightforward to be able to organize when is pointing to a future point or when it's referring to a habitual one. But it does take some time to organize that. We've never had to think about this before. And now you have to bring attention to it and you have to organize. Am I talking about a future point? Are you talking about something routine? If you say, every day when I get home, I lay in bed for a couple minutes to relax. That's a routine thing. I'm not talking about a future point. I say every day when I get home. So when you're using when with a habitual action, you don't use the subjunctive. When I go to the gym, I always bring my bag and my towel and a bottle of water. This is a habitual thing. I'm not referring to when I go to the gym later on today. When I go to the gym tomorrow, I'm talking about what I do habitually. When I go to the beach here in Puerto Rico, I always look for a shady spot. That's habitually true. I'm not talking about a future point, okay? It's only when you're referring to something that you're talking about happening in the future. When I get home later, when I go to the beach this weekend, I'm going to make sure I get a shady spot. Those are future pointing. Cuando vaya a la playa este fin de semana, voy a buscar un spot con una buena sombra, okay? When I get home, I'll call you. Cuando llegue a casa, te llamo. When I get off work, cuando salga del trabajo, later today, I'm going to get gas. Voy a echar gasolina. Bad Bunny's line, when I try you in the future. It's not every time I try you, I fall in love. It's what he's saying. Once I try you, when I get a taste of you, kind of the implication, I'm going to fall in love. Baby, yo no tengo miedo de probarte y de enamorarme de nuevo. I'm going to break down the chorus here. Baby, I am not afraid to try you and fall in love again. De nuevo. We've seen this multiple times in this series. If you haven't learned it already as a way to say again, make sure you sign up for Patreon so that you can review your vocab a little bit more often and learn these damn phrases. De nuevo, again. F it, mommy. I'll follow the game. Bien loquito en la disco, me pego bailando y te beso el cuello. Bien loco. Or wild crazy in the club. La disco, la discoteca. Me pego is to come up close to somebody, is to approach them. or to literally be that close, as it might imply with dancing. Me pego bailando y te beso el cuello. I kiss your neck. Contigo me voy a fuego. Saying that me voy a fuego is like, I'm all in. In the breakdown, where it starts to go a little bit slower here. Y si tú quieres, nos hacemos jevo. There's a vocab word that I really want to point out here. Jevo. Jevo is the in-between place between a friend and a boyfriend, or a friend and a girlfriend. Okay, they're more than a friend, but it's not officially dating. You guys aren't officially together. You don't have titles, whatever. Use jevo, use jeva. This is a great vocab word to have. It will absolutely be on the Bad Bunny flashcard deck. Jevo, jeva is used for the term of somebody that you got something going on with, but they are not officially your partner. We did it. It only took 2 fucking months, but it's done. Thank you for joining me on this special series on Bad Bunny's album. Nadie sabe lo que va a pasar mañana. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you sharing these episodes with other people that you think are really going to enjoy them. I appreciate you spreading the word. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad it's done. I'm going home this weekend to spend a little bit of holiday time with my family, at which point I'm going to grab the deck of cards that Alfredo and I use, these little trivia cards for 8 or 9-year-olds that Alfredo used in the episode where we did that jugando trivia en español, right? I know I got a lot of feedback that you guys enjoyed that episode, kind of an opportunity to pause and respond in Spanish. They're very easy questions, but it's not easy to put together your thoughts in your second language until you practice doing it 8 million times, okay? So I'm going to bring back that deck of trivia cards that are for 8 to 9-year-olds so that Alfredo and I can record a couple more episodes in that format where we'll be asking a question and pause, giving you time to respond back to these basic questions. Please, as always, please subscribe to my channel so I can start making money off of the friggin' hours and hours and hours that I spend doing these episodes. Give this video a like, leave a comment so that it can get out there to more people. Muchas gracias y nos vemos en la próxima.